How about this? You tell them, guys, take a look at the last 4 years of the Pro Football Hall of Fame with more to come. I'll talk to you about being relevant, okay? I don't see any Alabama guys rolling into the Hall of Fame anytime soon. Maybe Julio Jones. The rest of them dudes got a long way to go. Can they ever get back? Again, another great question. Well, remember something. David Shula destroyed Alabama football, destroyed it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me, I think Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year as head football coach at Alabama. You think they were saying we'll ever get back to being what Bear did? Well, I think he's taken that from where they were to maybe even a tad bit better than what Bear Bryant's doing. So look at what Orgeron is doing. These guys, Orgeron and Saban, are not great X's and O's coaches. Like Jimmy was not an X and O coach. You know what he did? He hired great assistant coaches, and he knew how to evaluate talent, means recruiting. If they can get back to doing that, hiring good assistants. Now, again, this is going to be a challenge for Manny because Miami doesn't have the money LSU and Alabama have to hire these assistant coaches. You guys got to remember, look at my coaching staff. Butch Davis, Dave Wannstedt, Dave Campo. I mean, Gary Stevens. I was just tweeting out to Tommy Tuberville. Tuberville and Chuck Pagano were our GAs checking bed checks. That's how they were GAs not getting paid doing bed checks. And he became the coach at Auburn. And I mean, we had an amazing coaching staff. And I don't know if you're going to be able to duplicate that part of it because, you know, what Jimmy was able to produce with all those great coaches, I took for granted. We had great coaches at Miami when I was there. And, you know, you can say whatever you want about the 01 team. That 01 team are not even in the same room with my coaching staff.
Yeah. So what you were saying about, you know, convincing guys that there's a winnable culture, you know, that's the head coach's responsibility and stuff like that. It made me think about the current recruiting class that we have. We have a lot of momentum right now. We've landed some big name guys. You know, I think we're like 8th overall right now. And if we land a few recruits, we could push past Florida and some of these other big schools. Does that at least give you, you know, some good feelings about Manny Diaz that after a season that we go less than 500, he still has the guys on the team and guys in high school believing in his vision?
In today's landscape, I've got to put myself in today's landscape with the context of what your question was there. So I'll say yes. But when I was at the school, I don't ever remember winning recruiting wars. I don't ever remember being in the top 20. I don't ever remember being considered. Russell, Maryland was recruited by 2 schools, Toledo and Miami. I don't remember us ever being and having conversations about winning the recruiting wars. I just remember winning games and national championships.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember that stuff. I know it's different today, okay? Because it was easy for us because a lot of people didn't know some of the kids that were in South Florida. Because you know why? Guys like Lou Holtz or Joe Paterno, you think they're going to go into African-American communities in Overtown and Liberty City to recruit? That'd be no. See, Dabo and Saban are smart. They go into those communities. They make friends with Luther Campbell. They go in there because they know they're going to pull out some of the greatest talent in the country. Those other coaches, I mean, it'd be hard-pressed if you go back and look and see any South Florida guys that were on those Penn State teams or on those Notre Dame teams. There weren't because those people didn't recruit. So it's different today. So when I see that we're moving into the top 10, that means to me this. That means they're in Palmetto, Booker T, Edison. They're going into those high schools in Miami, and they're recruiting, and they're trying to build the bridge back up again. So that's what gives me hope is that, look, I'll take a 3-star kid over a 5-star kid out of New Jersey any day because you got 7 state championship high school football programs from South Florida. I can guarantee you The kids in South Florida, if I draft or if I recruit 20 kids and I recruit 20 kids nationally, I'm going to have a better success rate with the kids in Miami because they play great football. Look, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Louisiana, Ohio, Texas, California, New Jersey in some aspects. Those are all great hotbeds for high school football. Okay. You're in those areas, especially Florida, Georgia, Bama, Louisiana. You're recruiting around in there. We get Ed Reed out of Louisiana. You're going to win a lot of games.
So,
Dan, we love having you on. I was going to say, make sure before we get out of here, at Dan Sileo Show is where you can follow him on Twitter. Where else do we find you? Where can people check out Dan Sileo right now?
Yeah, man. If you go to my Twitter page, I have a Twitch show that I'm doing for Amazon right now. We have some really great news coming up about a national radio show that we're getting ready to launch. I hope it's Monday that we're going to be on in multiple markets. But as you guys know, it's radio. Mm-hmm. So radio sometimes turns you into liars. So I want to make sure that we launch on Monday. So just check out my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. You'll be able to follow along and see what's going on. But it looks like we're going to be able to launch in Dallas, Portland, Minneapolis, Seattle, and I think maybe a city in Florida yet to be determined. So looks like we're going to get out of the gate here. I'm really looking forward to it. It's the first time, guys, that, I made a gamble here that, with the current landscape the way it is, there's not a lot of high-paid salaries out there right now. I can own a show and be in control of my own show and deal with my own advertisers, and people who bitch will be bitching basically to me because I own the show. That's kind of where I want to go right now. I kind of have to dig for my own gold if you guys get where I'm going with this.
Yeah. So I got one last question for you before we head out. While you were talking, I was thinking of I guess that period of time, late Randy Shannon era, early Al Golden era, where we were producing a lot of NFL talent. I mean, we were having 5, 6, 7, 8 NFL guys put out every year, but we're only going 7-6, right? I wanted to get your take on that, whether that goes to the coaching staff type of stuff that you're talking about, or whether you think that could have been from a lack of competition and practice. That there wasn't the pressure in the locker room creating those diamonds till they get into the NFL. I just wanted to hear your take on that.
Well, whatever has happened to some of these kids who are getting this advice to leave the University of Miami early, like this Kaya kid leaves and he doesn't even get drafted. Some of these kids don't even get drafted. I don't know who's advising them. I mean, it goes back to putting the T-shirt on and the jersey on, thinking you're going to be a first round. When I left Miami, I was the 56th player taken. I was disappointed. I was like, damn. Okay, I was projected to be a top 10 kid, and I'm a 50. I thought that was awful. Okay, I mean, I did. I looked at that and I'm like, that's really shitty. And and I'm looking at it now. Today it's a second rounder, and I'm like, I don't know if that. When's the last time you had a second round defensive tackle drafted? I'm going to tell you what happened with Randy. Here's what happened with Randy, man. Randy was trying to get the kids from the inner cities, but the admissions and the president of the university and the athletic director didn't want those kids going to the University of Miami. And then all of a sudden, when you had that dickhead Nevin Shapiro floating around the program, and he's given money to the program, and Donna Shalala's there with an $87,000 check in her hand, they thought it would be better to build up the basketball program, sell the University of Miami logo, and who gives a shit if Miami goes 8-4? Doesn't matter. We're going to be making money anyway. Who cares, man, what Miami's doing? This is about building the basketball program. If you notice, the basketball program has had more luxury since we've been in the ACC than what UM has ever had. Miami has – I mean, I've won an ACC championship, which is crazy, and nobody on the team has ever done it. I mean, look, crazy. Let me show you this. I mean, I got a 1983 ACC championship trophy here and nobody at has. How's that possible? How's that possible? Randy had a lot of problems with admissions and people just not allowing him. And Randy got caught up in the business end of it. Randy Shannon should be a head football coach again, and I believe he will be. He's at UCF now. He was on that thing we did with Luther Campbell about a month ago, and it was great to see him. He looks great, and I think he'll get another opportunity. But Randy was taught a really big lesson. Don't get caught up in the politics of trying to get kids in. See, at Alabama, Saban wants 20 kids. Alabama qualifies all 20. Okay? Mm-hmm. You go to Miami, you throw 20 kids in front of admissions, you can have about 11 of them.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Dan,
thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome stuff, man. It's great to talk to you, bro. We'll have to catch up next time I'm out. I'm taking it you're still in Southern California. When I get out there, we're going to have a couple.
Absolutely, guys. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, guys.
Yep. Thank you, and go Canes, man.
Go Canes.
Perfect, man. Dude, that was cool. I love hearing from Dan. He's a guy that I'll always listen to when he's on. And you brought it up during the interview. He shoots straight, and I love that. I love that about him, and I also love that about you. That's specifically why I wanted you to help me on this episode. Because the episodes that you've been on with me and Marsh have really gained a lot of traction. There is a lack of people who tell it like it is in the Miami Hurricanes program or around the program.
Here's the thing. I was never good enough to play. I was never a Dan Sileo. And I played wide receiver. I know you look at me now and probably don't think that. My high school teammate actually played at Miami. He was a recruit under Dennis Erickson, and when Butch came, he kind of got pushed out of the program because he was a small running back, and Butch wanted big running backs. So I knew what it took to be around and be a Miami Hurricane. I just wasn't good enough to do so. What I also looked at with this, and guys like Dan, I think it gets muted. And don't get me wrong, I love Hockman and Crowder. I think they do a great job down there. I've worked in radio. I've been on a flagship. I worked for the Falcons for 10 years, traveling with their team. There is a sense of getting muted by the team that you're a flagship of. And I think Miami, and it's part of the reason there were guys that wouldn't come on my show anymore in Atlanta because I kept it too real. I talked shit about Al Golden to the point where legitimately he blocked me on Twitter for talking so much crap about him and Mark D'Onofrio. I remember having it out with probably Tim Reynolds of the AP years ago, where he was like, you got to give these guys time. I was like, no, I know what Miami football looks like, and this isn't fucking Miami football. This is shit. And Dan says it like it is. There's a reason Dan's not on QAM. Was he controversial? Yeah. Did he say some things that may have been right on the edge? Absolutely. In our business, you have to do that. I can't sit back as a guy that literally, I think I have 9 University of Miami tattoos on my body. 9. I just got a new one 2 weeks ago. I can't sit back and in my room, and I promise you, I'm sitting in my studio right now. I have a Jerome Brown jersey. I have a Sean Taylor jersey. I have a Michael Irvin jersey, a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and a Warren Sapp jersey. They're all framed, hanging in my office. You know why? Those are the guys I looked up to. The shit I see right now is not Miami football. It's not even close. And Jordan, you want to know what pisses me off? I'll write articles for State of the U, and obviously I'm going to try to keep them somewhat positive because I hope the team does well. I look at that schedule, and I think Dan said it best. I looked at that schedule this year. Who the hell is supposed to beat us on that schedule? The 86 Miami team would have ran through that schedule by 50 points again. There wouldn't have been a team within 5 touchdowns of the 86 team.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I was on Sirius XM Slam Radio yesterday morning, the Amigo with Larry Millian. And he asked me what I thought about this upcoming season. And I said 10-2. And, I'm not trying to bag on Larry's opinion here because I think everything he said was valid. But he thought I was crazy, and he's like, I don't know, man. This is like an 8-4 team. I think we're underestimating Michigan State, and FSU is never a gimme. And I mean, just going along with what you said, man, like